What's going on, everyone? Talen here, and welcome to another character showcase video. Alright, so we're going to take a look at Magik here, because after the initial first uniform impression video I did, I was not impressed at all with this uniform. It wasn't really stacking up. The damage was very low, and it didn't even seem like it was going to be a very big improvement over her previous uniform. So now I got her to level 80. I went ahead and finished up the character to kind of max out all her stats so we could get a better idea of how she's going to perform with this uniform here. And just now that she has level 80 and tier 4 available to her, so quickly we'll take a look at the stats. We have pretty much all mythic Urus on her here. Her skills we have still at 6. I didn't level those up anymore. Type enhancement is at level 5. We have fully awakened power of Angry Hulk. We have her 5-star artifact. We have a CTP of Rage on her. And I did go ahead and get her uniform to Mythic. I did use a ticket to do that because I wanted to make sure that this uniform was either better or not than her previous uniform, because her Krakoan uniform here seemed like it was hitting harder than this new uniform when I first did the initial impression video. But now that I got the Marvel Rivals uniform to Mythic, it does seem to be performing a little bit better than the Krakoan Winter one. And it pretty much just performs better like over time. It's very weird. So like if you go damage rotation by damage rotation, the Krakoan Winter one was actually hitting harder doing like the full damage rotation compared to one damage rotation with the Marvel Rivals. But after 30 seconds to a minute, the Marvel Rivals started to pull ahead. So I don't know if we're able to do the skill rotations quicker with that one, or what was going on with why the damage was starting to kind of, you know, more favor the Marvel Rivals. It definitely does seem like if you get her to the demon form, though, in the Marvel Rivals uniform, that she does pull ahead a lot further than if you're not in the demon form. So non-demon form, these uniforms are very similar. Pulling into the demon form here, you start to see a noticeable increase in damage compared to the Krakoan one. So yeah, just that initial impressions out of the way with those two uniforms. So we're gonna go ahead and just try her out real quick. I already did a tiny bit of testing just so I had a better idea of the character, because she was so bad at level 70 and so bad with this uniform. As soon as I got to level 80, it kind of changed quite a bit. Her damage actually increased a lot more than I thought it was going to, which I don't know if that's something that they have done intentionally with some of like lower performing characters or older characters or something like that, that they give them a disproportionate boost from 70 to 80. I am not 100% sure, but it does kind of seem that way compared to other characters I've got from 70 to 80. So let's hop into some content here and gameplay while I kind of talk more about that. Alright, so here we are over at King Stage 9. We're using our normal showcase team here with our normal dodge ignore strikers that we always use. And what I was saying is she seems very similar to Apocalypse. So when Apocalypse came out at level 70, his damage was horrible. It was so bad. And then when I got him to level 80, I'm like, wait, his damage is actually decent now. So it was like a really big uplift. When normally when you get from 70 to 80, you can see about a 2x increase in damage. And that's usually on average what I see. But for like Apocalypse, it was like a 3 or 4x. And it's kind of the same here for Magik, because there, we already got to the face change. And before, like, she couldn't even get to the face change after like 30 seconds to a minute at level 70. And now that we have her at level 80, her damage has kind of just like tripled, quadrupled, which again is unusual. So that's why I don't know if they're doing that on purpose now for newer characters, that they're trying to get us to want to get the characters to level 80, or they want us to, you know, try to tier 4 characters or something like that. So I don't know if that's that kind of push that they're doing, because I'm seeing more and more disproportionate buffs to the characters from level 70 to level 80, or I guess from tier 3 to tier 4 than in the past when we were first getting level 80 and tier 4 characters, if that makes sense. So I don't know if that's something that they're trying to do here, because again, she is really, really bad at level 70, but when I got her to level 80, she actually seemed like she was performing quite well. So let's move over to Null here. All right, so we got Null stage 34. Let's go ahead and hop in. Yeah, so let's actually, because with King right there, I didn't even bother to try to get her into the demon form, because it is kind of a pain to do. It's a lot easier when you have the poison puddles. Of course, you can just stand in a poison puddle, or if you just kind of wait for an attack here, and then, yeah, just do that. So you can time it, of course. So once you get used to that requirement and condition, you'll be able to, of course, get her into the demon form a lot more reliably. It's just right now at the start, I'm not quite 100% used to it, so I'm fumbling it sometimes getting her into the demon form for most of the fights, but it is definitely possible to do, because bosses do more than enough attacks for you to, you know, time it so that you get hit. Oh, interesting. When we went into the demon form there, we got snare or stun immunity in less than a minute. So again, she can clear this just fine. So damage, again, is just so much different from 70 to 80. And Apocalypse is kind of the main character that I remember that happening to. So yeah, I don't know, again, if that's on purpose or not, if they're trying to make people want to get characters to level 80 more, or trying to push more people to get to push you to get your characters to tier 4, so that you will, you know, want to buy more resources, or you're going to want to, you know, get those tier 4 materials, because your character is kind of unusable if they're not at tier 4 for just certain characters right now. Of course, a lot of characters, just getting them to level 80, kind of like Magik here, is going to be sufficient. But again, getting to level 80 takes up additional resources from that 70 to 80 that you normally wouldn't really be investing in characters. So I kind of think that's what they're pushing, but I don't really see it being a very good strategy, because like when I first got that uniform and I saw how bad her damage was when I just started at level 70, I didn't really even want to, you know, invest more into Magik here. But once I got her to level 80, since I could just throw away the resources, I don't really care. Getting from 70 to 80 for me, since I have so many resources built up, is just like basically not really you know, it doesn't matter, because those resources I have so many of. But getting a character from 80 to tier 4, that I do not have a ton of resources for. Oh, why didn't that proc? But as you can see, the damage is really nice now. I don't know why that is, because I don't think there was any updates to the character. Come on, let me get hit here. There we go. Okay, so now let's do some more damage here. Okay, now we can do the tier 3, get some more damage off. Yeah, so as she is right now, I am quite happy with her damage. She's kind of performing at a similar level to Gambit that just came out. Like my Gambit that has a Rage on at level 80 is doing very similar damage to Magik here. And Magik is also, I guess, doing very similar damage to X23, which I was quite happy with their damage. It's just they were performing a lot better at level 70 than Magik was. Okay, yeah, so talking here and messing up my rotation has cost me quite a bit, because I have done Dormammu a couple times here before starting to record, and usually by now I've actually hit the phase change. Usually at 8 minutes and 40 seconds, I was hitting the phase change when I'm actually getting her skill rotation done correctly, and I was in the demon form the entire time. So I'm about 25 seconds short of what I usually was getting with her there. So I guess keep that in mind. If you're, you know, more focused on playing the character correctly, you're going to perform better than what I'm doing right here. So now we're going to go ahead and do some damage here. And as you can see, she's moving the bars with her normal rotation quite easily. So her damage is actually, like I said, surprisingly good at level 80. when you consider how poor her damage was previously. All right, so now we'll pop this one. There, as you can see with the tier 3, boom. Just got like 4 bars right there. So she is more than capable of taking down Dormammu. She can definitely do a third of the damage. Also, we are at type disadvantage here, which again doesn't make a huge difference against Dormammu. I've noticed, but it still is a difference. So we are still, you know, having our damage reduced a little bit here. But overall, like I said, I am quite happy now with how Magik is performing at level 80. So I would definitely think that she is more worth it now. If you have the Krakoan uniform, I would say it's not a huge buff to her damage. The only uplift that you get with this uniform is actually the rotation feels a bit better. Because with the Krakoan uniform, the skills last such a long time. Like, you have a huge time sink for her skills that your rage is going to pretty much always be turning off before you get to the very end of the actual animation and the skills themselves, which can be annoying because you have to sit there and sit through the entire animation just to get to your next skill rotation. And also, she's not fully protected during the entire rotation, so she can get guard broken and knocked out of her skills. So there are quite a few issues that this uniform does fix for Magik, in terms of just like ease of play of the uniform and actually just being able to reliably get all of your skills off. So that is definitely a bonus. And like I said, when you're maintaining the demon form, the damage is definitely better. But if you're not in the demon form, the damage I would say is very similar. With this one still performing better, but again, similar damage. So yeah, I mean, whoops, I canceled that one out. As you can see, she is looking pretty good now, doesn't she? So let's go ahead and wrap this up here. All right, so now, like I said, at level 80, I definitely think that this uniform is worth it, and Magik is actually a viable character, but I really wouldn't get this uniform or invest any kind of resources and materials in Magik unless you plan to get her to level 80, because she doesn't really perform well until she gets there. And also, you are going to need a rage on her. I don't think there's any way around it. Her skills are not damage proc friendly. She definitely wants a rage, so rage is going to also be, I would say, a requirement on her. And again, I have her pretty much fully maxed out here, so I did invest a lot of resources in her to get her to this level, and she does, like I said, performed well compared to some other characters, but those other characters I have invested significantly less resources in. I definitely don't have as many Urus on them. I don't have as many Odin's Blessings or even Mythic Urus on them. I don't have like a high ranking artifact on them. Some of them, of course, I do have rage on. Most of them I might have the uniform at Mythic, but again, she is a paywall character, so unless you're going to use a uniform ticket like I used on her, you're also going to have to get her biometrics somewhere to rank up this uniform, because she doesn't seem to have as many base stats, I guess, built in than some of the other characters. Because for her, oh, I don't even have her crit damage max out. Yeah, because for her, I actually had to work to max out, or at least get close to maxing out her crit rate, her crit damage, her dodge, even her ignore defense. I'm usually way over cap on ignore defense and skill cooldown. I'm usually way over cap on those. I'm also usually pretty over cap on crit rate, and all of those are relatively low here for my overcap. So she definitely demands more resources for those as well. And I have pretty much max amount of crit damage Urus on her, and I'm still not maxed on crit damage. So she's not getting as many of those stats as other characters will, because normally I find other characters a lot easier to cap all of these stats on with my current kind of account. So with my card stats and that, I usually can reliably cap most of these skills out without really, you know, focusing too much on getting mythic Urus on. Normally I can just put 5-star Urus or even 4-star Urus and max out these stats, but for Magik I needed to kind of max out everything just to get these stats to cap. So she's definitely a lot more stat hungry than some of the other characters as well. So you kind of need to keep that all of that in mind if you want to make Magik a viable character, or at least a usable DPS on your account. But again, if you have all those resources and you want to invest them in her, I do think she's actually performing quite well here. So I was quite happy with the change from 70 to 80 in terms of her damage. I'm still on the fence if I'm going to tier 4 her. She's kind of more in the picture now, because when I first saw her at level 70, I was like, yeah, I'm not tier 4ing this character. But now I'm like, you know what, I'm definitely considering it. So we'll see if I ever tier 4 her. But anyway, that is going to be the showcase here. Again, let me know your experiences with Magik here, if you're kind of getting a similar picture of her, if you've found her to be more or less usable than I'm finding her at level 80 here. I'd be curious to know. But that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed, and of course I will catch you in the next one.